Until confirmation. Yes, hello. Nick Tockert here with the Historical Fencing Guild. The Historical Fencing Guild is a proud member of the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. Be sure to catch all the wonderful shows brought to you through the Rising Tide Broadcast Network, where a rising tide lifts all boats. Almost got that line out straight. All right. The Historical Fencing Guild is also brought to you by The Simple Sword and The Fighting Axe. Both of these are my manuals designed at beginners to give low-cost, easy access to historical fencing methods without all the bother and trouble. We got some folks pulling in. That makes great. And I'm already seeing you hit the like button, so I love it already. I also want to put a huge shout-out to the Historical Fencing Guild patrons. You guys are what fund some of the amazing stuff that I have going tonight and every night. And Small Arms, which you shall review once read. Wonderful. Yes, Sydney Kep, who is my hero. Sydney Kep actually mentioned one of my books in the Big Stompy Robot series, Small Arms. Sydney, send me a list of the ones you haven't read yet, and I'll see if I can hook you up. Otherwise, guys, this has been a kind of stressful week. You'll notice that I started a little late. Only a couple minutes, and we have the usual sounds of chaos that's left over from the battles with the Shoggoths that we've been. There's a problem, and the problem is twofold. You see, you know how Lydia disappeared during the Shoggoth invasion? Well, apparently she wasn't alone in her trip to Starbucks, and apparently hentai may have occurred in the background. So I have a whole nother breed, quite literally, of, yes, well, yes, it's, oh God, there it is, I don't, honey, off the camera. Yes, no, they still bite. Anyway, we have, the problem is Lydia gets very cross since she was involved in the creation of these Shoggoths. And so, so it's roaming around my study right now. Yeah, well, and I'm not quite sure. You see, the problem is my wife thinks it's cute, and I don't know what to. No, I'm not hitting your Shoggoth, dear. But see, nothing up my sleeve, so to speak. But the problem is Shoggoths are made of whatever material that they manifest on. Yes, that. Please, I'm filming here. Please don't wreck that. Down, shoot, go. There'll be no cookies for you if you don't be quiet. Now, go on. Anyway, pardon that interruption. We as usual had some insanity, but things are calm now. Guys, things are calm now, and we're getting better. And to the folks who missed it, well, you just missed it. I'm sure that resident Shoggoth, mini Shoggoth, half Shoggoth, Scrapgoth, I don't know. That little bugger is now skittering around in my office and could come back at any point. It just... I tried to run a serious channel. I really did. I didn't expect that. But let's talk to the comments. Sydney Kep's reading Small Arms, which is the second story in my Big Stompy Robots series, which I encourage you to read. They're very good. Now, and those are available through Amazon, where you can also get Sydney Kep's books. It's almost like there's a cool thing. Yes, Foxy has arrived. Thank you, Foxy. And, yeah, Steve, I would beat them into submission, but I get growled at by them and yelled at by my wife. But good to see all you guys. we got to talk, okay? A lot of things are going to change very quickly because tomorrow, at an ungodly morning shift, I am not made for morning shifts, I will do my final day as a librarian, and at least at Earl Park at this time, so that I can focus on some things around here, my health, and this channel. So expect a upsurge in new materials, writings, and some other goodies. Now we're going to talk about something that the guildies know. Yes, mornings are awful. My son is autistic. He stays up often till 1 or 2 at night because he has a displaced sleep disorder, basically. He and I both share it, where it came from me working shift work early on. So, for us, being up very late is normal and sleeping in is kind of normal. It's just our cycle, and it works better. Once a month, missing a weekend and breaking my sleep cycle, which goofed me up for the next 2 weeks, was doing me in. So I'm not going to be a librarian anymore. I am full-time author, artist, creator, game designer, sword master, yada, yada. This is good. Now we're going to talk about something else, because some things have happened. Oh, okay. I'm glad you understand. This, as you guys know, is my sword cane. It was given to me by the widow of Jesse Tibbetts, one of the most noble, elegant, and just wonderful souls I had the pleasure of meeting. And Squire Jess was everything the SCA could and should be. And he is missed. And she knew I love sword canes. So I love sword canes. But there's a problem with sword canes. I spent the last few years looking for a solution to this problem. The problem is there are no sword cane trainers. You can't just pick up a trainer. I'm sorry, my back's messing up, so I'm going to use this here. This is just a nice chunk of PVC here. But yeah, so you can't find a sword cane trainer, so you can't practice from the draw. Now, I will rage now and forever on the subject of training from the draw. And the problem with that is people train defense, and everybody, when you're in a fencing bout, starts assume your first position, or many times third, take a fighting stance and begin for your bouts, or do your drills from it. Very few do from a draw. Now, that's fine for sport fencing, a lot of what we do. You can do that because there's very little is there from a draw. But the makers of a bunch of wonderful weapons, my Purple Heart, my Purple Heart sword, which I love the Italian tactical side sword trainer here. And use my affiliate link, guys. It doesn't cost you anything, and it gets me a little notoriety. But there's very rarely does it train from the draw. I have some Wakizashis I intend to review in the near future, but they didn't come with Seiyas. So I'm going to have to arrange handles for a bunch of my weapons, not for real safety, but to affix them to a belt so that you can actually practice and understand how convoluted some of these weapons are. I mean, it's not like you could just carry your stick here and just draw a trainer of a sword cane. Oh, wait, I just did. Yes, folks, friends, colleagues, swordsmen, this is the first, I'm calling it my Mark Zero sword cane trainer. And yes, it looks like a lightsaber. I will be making adjustments to this design, but I want to do it as cheaply and simply as possible. I will likely be replacing this blade, which is, well, I don't know. I have to see how it performs. This is a rod of HDP half-inch diameter. This is half-inch PVC. And these are a male-to-male connector and caps and a chunk of PVC. I literally just sort of eyeballed the lengths. This is beautiful. Now, later I'll do a full outside video. I'm going to go back to doing those, talking about what how this handles, how this works. I am so proud. The patrons know this blade material that I've wanted to test for some time. It looks like it has a reasonable amount of flex, but it holds the curve a bit. This blade material, I wanted to see if it would work as a simple sword simulator, because I'm looking for something with a more forgiving on a thrust for trainers, and they don't exist. They can, and that's what bugs me, because this and the earlier versions were very see. This is very close to that Cold Steel Slam Jock in wiggly. It has a lot of wiggle and not a lot of retention, but I wasn't sure. And it did cost me nearly $15 to order this, which was the cheapest place I found it. But I'm going to see if I can find maybe polypropylene or something else, which is why it's only temporarily attached. Now, I'm giving a good amount. I can't pull it out right now, which is great. The means in which I attach this is so delightful, it does my poor heart good. I literally made essentially O-rings by taking rubber bands, wrapping a couple of them in different spots along, and just shoved it in the pipe. There's no bolt, no screw, no retention sturdier than that. And I found it's actually holding pretty well. So what I'm going to work on this some more as a design, but it is very wiggly. It is not, like I said, this is very much a Mark 0.5. I don't even know if I'll call this a Mark 1 version, but it's doable. And that was my goal. I wanted to make something that would work. Once you have something that works, you can make something that works well much easier. Yes, John. But the list of people who can call me that name is incredibly short. But yes, this what I like about this length is the whole length of this bar is 36 inches minus the 8 or so. So it gives me this really nice about 28 inch blade. I'd have to measure it, and I didn't have. Oh, there's my tape measure. Let me give me the. Shut up! No. Will you stop? Okay, so the under the desk gremlins are still fair game, right? Okay. Anyhow, you see, they started riding those big purple spiders, and I don't really need to deal. Now, see, if I can get the Shug up to help me with the purple spider problem, the guild will work much better. Anyway, let's get out our handy-dandy tape measure and look at this. Oh, how about a video on using the wrong sword for training purposes? That it's a forms trainer, not an impact. You're right. Right now, it is definitely a forms trainer. And that's not a bad thing, because I prefer people not use live steel in training if at all possible. But okay, how about using a wrong style for different training styles? Like Foxy and I were using a Jin for Spanish-Italian fencing. We're using a small sword for Chinese swordsmanship. That I can do a video about that. I can discuss that right now, because that's one of my favorite topics. I would love to get Sword Sage here. Okay, so overall, we are almost exactly 36 inches. Now, that's interesting, since this is a 36-inch pipe and there's a stopper, so there's probably some flux in the measurement. That's fine. Oh no, it's a great idea, and it's one I've discussed in the past. But I love retreading a good discussion because the attitudes change. And yeah, it's a 26-inch blade right now. Now I like this, and I want to do John. No, see, okay, John, you don't use the wrong size and wrong style. You fight things like John, and when you have an adaptive style, everything fits. But like possibly, okay, I like the way possibly could you make other tips for your trainer, like make them able to pull out and change depending. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. I could certainly I could put a fencing blade in here, like a foil blade would fit. I will probably get a different metal for this, but that makes the coupling, because you can't use aluminum because aluminum seizes up. Aluminum loves to seize up with metal and itself, so I'll have to think about it. This is just a prototype. Did you just say a 54-inch short sword, John? No. No. Anyway, did you see? I could draw that. So let me see if I can get this down. Behold my wondrous belly. But, golf, draw. I can just clear it because I have short arms. Therefore, carrying a 26-inch bladed weapon from a fixed hilt, because if it's rooted to me, it limits what I can draw. And absolutely, guys, okay, I am not one to keep crafting secrets to myself. You guys can make these. Here is the parts list. This was pieces from either a 10 or 5-foot stave, a 5-foot half-inch schedule 40. Here, you can see, I'm not making this up. Half-inch PVC schedule 40. This is cheap. This is a couple bucks. I want to say the adapter is 27 cents. It might be more. It might be 99 cents. But it wasn't terribly expensive. The end caps are 19, and I used one of my pipe cutting tools to make it. All right, so that's that. That gives you the hilt, guard, pommel, and sheath. Now the interior is of PVC, is labeled as half-inch, but it's actually a little bit bigger. It's like 0.608, if I remember right, nominally. So roughly half-inch gives you a little bit of wiggle room. Let me see if I can get this to come apart for you. Okay. Anyhow. Yes, the cane length limitation is from your hip to the floor if it's functional. I'll show you what I did, because I actually stick welded not stick welded it, but I got it in too tight. That's just old rubber bands. They were old scummy rubber bands I had in a rubber band ball. And it just, now we'll see if I can push it back in. Oh, well, now I have to fix it. But do that. It just wedges in there, and then it turns into an O-ring. And it's remarkably tight retention. Now, I can take a wood piece. If I want to make it permanent, I can do wood. You could drill out the back, put a nut, drill a wooden hilt that fits inside this, and slide a foil blade in. There's a lot of versatility to something like this. Now, one question people will give me is, why did I put the adapter? Because while it's not glued, it's wedged pretty well on here, and this part is filed ever so slightly to make it poppable on this side. I did this for a very important reason. I hate knives. Oh, God, I left it. Babe, can you bring me my Damascus knife from the living room, please? Thank you. I don't like to use knives that don't protect the wearer, the wielder, from sliding up the blade real well. Now, Mandy's fetching me, bless her heart, one of the little Damascus knives, if I can find it. That I love this knife. It's one of my favorite knives, but the guard is incredibly minimal. And my concern with that is if you're using a thrust-based style. Oh, I think she tripped over the shoggoth. It loves her. The thing's like a chihuahua with eyes on the back of its head. Or the front. Well, the eyes kind of move around. And it growls. I didn't expect it to growl so much. I'm going to talk about that too, John. Thank you. Anyway. This is my Bar Raz Damascus utility knife. And let me tell you, this is one of my favorite knives. It is very, very sturdy. It is robust. It is a beautiful little, I'll get where you can see it, nice little Damascus knife by Bar Raz. Love this little company. Love what they're about. Good knife company. And they get, like I said, this is a good knife. The problem is, even though this is a good working grip, I love it. There's still a hazard of potentially sliding up. It's not as bad with this as some, but when you compare it to my everyday carry neck knife, you see the odds of this hand sliding up to the blade on a stabbing motion are very less likely than this. And I don't like a knife I can't trust to not potentially mess me up. Now, John is asking, were you able to edit last Friday's arrival of the new toy? I have not been able to edit those videos, and I will be doing a special video probably after the rain passes this week, hinting at that and some other things. Because starting next week, the channel will be getting a lot more content. Because I'm going to have time, and it's part of a mission to kind of recalibrate myself and what I'm doing. I also, while we're talking, I was saving this as an announcement for the guild, but you're here. I found and have fixed my old POV camera. This, and I'm going to look, classically styly in just a second here. But this is wonderful, and I had it years ago for making videos from the perspective of the performer, or in this case, the practitioner. I also let Xander borrow it when he was much younger and smaller because he grows like a weed, so it wasn't fitting. But so I'll be able to wear this goofy camera, and when I'm talking about guards, what I was thinking, and tell me if you like this idea. I'll have to adjust it to get the camera angle right, and I'll probably have to repad it. These things happen. But going through the drills, wearing the POV, so instead of me just saying, you use it like this, it's a matter of demonstrating it and using it you'll be able to see it like you were doing it. I think you might find that useful, depending on if I can find somebody to spar with. Way back, if you dig way back in the videos, you'll see me with a fellow by the name of Mr. Lendy, a few others, where I was using this fairly regularly to show you guys, and it is it's a little bit potato quality, but it's what I got. But let you see fencing bouts from a fighter's perspective. What I would love to do is video a actual bout externally and have POV internally and possibly edit them together somehow. It'd be a little more advanced than what I'm doing right now, but I want to give that experience and that understanding of what it's like to work with the styles versus without the styles. And I really think it might, and it may actually make you queasy. I understand your situation Cindy. That's part of why I'm mixed on whether I should do it. It may be one of those where you may have to give it a test, and if at all you feel bad and need to skip it, I certainly won't blame you. Because, I'm all about adapting. And sometimes adapting your style, guys, means stepping back and saying, I can't do that. Maybe I can't practice that style. That weapon is too heavy for me. Or it's just the grip is uncomfortable. Things like that. Yeah, and that's probably once I have active sparring partners who are willing to be on camera. My wife, bless her soul, doesn't really like to be on camera very often. She's a bit like Cookie like that. So we're gonna have I'm going to be doing that. And yes, to answer I have some questions and requests that were sent to me. And I do love to answer questions. To answer the person who asked about my singing voice, it is terrible. But if it is truly that heavily requested, maybe for the patrons, I'll do a recording of Leaves on the Vine, because there was this whole Uncle Iroh conversation, and these things happened. Oh, really? You're in my living room? No, and that's okay. Part of what we do, I do record, and I've had in the past a lot of tension between the people who want to be recorded and not. So my policy is we will be recording. If you want to stay off camera, you stay off camera, but it's also during practice and stuff when I have people milling around, it's your responsibility to stay off camera. But yeah, yes. So that's usually my policy, because I can't tear down an hour's worth of footage when you knew it was. We had some people who'd wander into frame and then freak out because they wandered into frame. That's just the part. I don't usually charge my students. In fact, I only charged one because I had to drive to his house and give special practices, and I was trying to cover the gas money. At the time, it was not far, but it was enough that it strained our budget. So, and you know what? The other thing is, I find that doing what we do helps people confidence-wise. When somebody like Stef Mari worked really hard. Now I'll be honest, I'm a fat guy right now. I put on a lot of weight due to injury, and I'm going to fight it. And it's hard for me sometimes to get here and do what I do. But I would never hold anyone negative for something like that. So why should I limit myself? So that's my view. That's really a very much a local, if you're coming to actual practices when they open up again, kind of situation. And yes, cookies I am a proud cookie mercenary. I have accepted cookies to bump people off the field in melee events. There is no shame in what I once was. I'm just independent now. But so I hope this does. Hey, here's the point. If you record what you're doing, you can see what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. And very often one of the hardest things to be able to say is, okay, he killed me. How? What happened that let them? So recording yourself, even if you don't disseminate it, is an incredibly valuable tool for what we do. And to do that, I really hope you're doing that. Yeah, John. Ironically, I wasn't a mercenary for your organization. I was the last one to be. Oh, Jesus! Wait! I make the best chocolate chips. See, I love chocolate chips, but obviously I'm a fat guy. I love all cookies. The first day I went to Boffer, one of our house members was running around recording because who she was. She spent the majority of her time filming her husband, so she missed some cool stuff. Now that I'm getting a clue, I need to. Yeah, it's a great way. Okay, many of you guys follow Brian K. Morris, and if you don't, you need to. He's one of our patrons, but that's not why I'm referencing him. He is an amazing powerhouse of support. He runs the Rising Tide Broadcast Network, and people who know me know I am not a joiner. I don't, as a rule, like clubs. I don't, as a rule, like organizations. This is why I set up an independent way to make a bridge between them all. Neutrality is kind of my shtick. But Brian's an amazing man, an amazing influence, and one of the most important people I've met in my adult life, and I don't say that lightly. And he talks about imposter syndrome. And as martial artists, imposter syndrome is so... Sorry. If I do this wrong, an old sword master will yell at me in my head, and I don't want that. But imposter syndrome is so prevalent. One of the best ways for somebody who's doing martial arts to deal with that is to journal video-wise. Record what you're doing, what you've done. Record yourself on bad days. Now, for me, because of I have a chronic something. We're still figuring out all the problems. It's at that age, but I find training for bad days, accepting bad days, watching what that does to me so I can adjust, helps me deal with bad days later. Now I want to hit on something. We're going to fast forward. Let's see, not much. Same here. Fat people often cook the best. Yes, it makes sense. If you love food, you probably taste a lot. Forms are difficult to learn on your own, but if you can get someone to film you and watch them back, it makes a huge difference. And Cindy, you are doing amazing with the fan form. Keep it up. Cindy's blushing. And I can't say it enough. You're doing something better than I can do. And that's what I love to see. I'm not very fluid with the fan. I can make it go like I can make anything go. But you are getting an embraced, focused style, and it is a thing of beauty. It's something you should be proud of, Cindy, because that looks really good. And just keep drilling at it, because it's something you've made your own. And I don't have words for how proud and how happy it makes me when I see somebody pick up a style and learn it, and just you bloom. You bloom like a flower. And it opens up and it's beautiful. And there's nothing like it. It can't be duplicated. It can't be imitated. That moment when somebody finds a thing that's one of their things and they just get it. Guys, it is gorgeous. So, yes. Please, please, please keep doing that, Cindy. Keep recording. And maybe we can set up where you can do a demo or something, because it's just gorgeous. Yes, imposter syndrome sucks, and it is one of my greatest enemies. Can I? And see, it's interesting you say that, because I had an incident where I was doing a workshop actually for the Historical Fencing Guild at what was the name of that library? South Haven Public Library in South Haven, Indiana. And we used to do monthly workshops. And we would meet and discuss fencing styles and things, and it was always a good time. But we had a guest speaker come in. He was talking about Guy Windsor's books and effort, and he said, "Well, you're an Aikido guy." And asked me some Aikido. I'm like, "I'm not an Aikido guy. I've never studied Aikido." He looked at me. "Yes, you are." Like, no, I genuinely, and I haven't to this day. I have not studied Aikido. In fact, I've never studied anything that requires me to wear a gi. Like, I've never fought in a robe and poofy pants before. And he got militant, like yelling, spitting that I was lying to hide my arts. It's like, if I had studied it, I'd be like, I'm a X belt. I have no belts other than those that hold up my pants or those that hold my swords. But, and it's interesting that Cindy kept saying that I did dabble in Tai Chi a long time ago and a bit with John Miner. And I had to adapt it to what I do because the motions that it was building muscle memory for didn't match the style I was fighting. And a lot of how I developed the simple sword was born from me taking the approach of Tai Chi of training the same motions slowly and controlled to accomplish everything I need to do. And yeah, Cindy, you move like a practitioner. It is elegant. Do you have a background in dance of any sort, Cindy? I'm curious. Because and the folks who read The Simple Sword, when I talk about the experience people bring to the fighting field, martial arts are experienced, but marching band. Marching band is an amazing source for people who work well, especially in line combat, because they know how far their stride is. They know how to move as a unit with people. It's really impressive, and it makes that step of training when you're training shoulder to shoulder style stuff a lot easier. There's a foot roll you see, and it comes out. So I'm fascinated. I took it and did all right, other than what my body just. And see, that's the thing. I am all about buffet training. I may watch a whole style. I may study a whole style to get a block. I kind of like that. The rest of it is either stuff I already do or don't do. It's not really appealing, but that one variant on an arm lock, or a grip change, some little flavor in the stir fry that is my fencing style comes from that, and I really do truly enjoy that. Sadly, there are people who are not. Yeah, and you know what? If here's the thing, if you're not cut out for one style, that doesn't mean you're not cut out for all styles. That's why I tell people I'm a big Gigante fan. And the reason I'm a big Gigante fan more than Agrippa, more than a whole bunch. Why Gigante? Marciano's okay. Speech impediment got a hold of that, and I'm not chasing it back down. But he was short. So his fencing style feels very natural to someone who is short. Let's see. There we go. Cindy Cap says, my mom has pics of me doing ballet and tap when I was 5 years old. I was a snare drummer, and I was in pike court in the SCA. I did a lot of SCA. Dancing, guys. Sword fighting is dancing. Dancing is sword fighting. It doesn't need... It's experience, not necessarily training. And a lot, especially SCA, folk dances teach a lot of footwork. It's almost like that someone very smart incorporated martial footwork into a lot of European folk dance. Or maybe that's just the easiest way to move from X location to Y location fast and keep your feet under you. Okay. Thesis says we were learning a mantis form, and he kept, we'll say, complaining that it wasn't applicable to life. All he did was complain and compare mantis to Taekwondo that he took a semester before. I'm going to tell you guys a secret. If there was one style that did everything, and it always won for everyone, we'd all do it. If there was one like, this is the style, and I've met people. I had a guy who had the Swordsman's Companion, which is a book I believe by Guy Windsor. It's a good fencing manual, don't get me wrong. But he would bring it to practices. And he'd bring it, he'd find a podium, he would kiss it like it was the bloody Bible before he set it down. Because there is one way, the correct way. The only way to pursue how to sword fight. Everything else is barbaric. Now, if you read any established historical manual, almost all of them have an intro that says what they're doing is right and what other people are doing is wrong. George Silver's Paradoxes of Defense, his introduction and his shade on Spanish is hilarious. It is just prime. This guy is beefing hard at Spanish duelists, and it's hilarious. Wow. I'm sorry, I caught that. Shaving, yoga in the shower with razor blades. Thank God I'm a dude. I have it easy. I only have to shave my face somewhat, and life is good. Let's see. Okay, he had to show up every day and show everyone what a badass he was. When we started learning staff, he insisted on showing up with a solid metal staff instead of the white waxwood everyone was using. It sounds like he was waxing his wood quite a bit during those. And see, that's the thing. We got to talk about, let's take a minute here. Let's take a minute. Well, trainers. There are a couple types of people who teach swordsmanship and martial arts in general, but I'm going to stick to my lane a bit because it's not so much about style, although it gets into it. It's about the mentality and why they're doing it. Now, there are some people who teach sword fighting as they do it as a means of generating prestige. They're involved in a group like the SCA or AmpGuard or some other organization that has the sword fighting element wrapped within it. And they use that as a means to get supporters and generate prestige, often while maintaining superiority. There are people who sword fight just because they want an excuse to be the center of attention, just for that. They want to be the center of attention. Look, and behold the glory of that sword fighter. And I am following the conversation. It's hilarious in the chat. Guys, always watch this show with the live chat turned on, or you're going to miss out on 50 to 90% of the content. But I'm sorry, the Shoggoth keeps looking at me. And it's sitting in the corner, but it's looking at me. Anyhow, you have people who are doing it for finances. I'm teaching people to sword fight because I need the money. This is my profession. Historical sword masters who opened up, their soleils, their training studios, and they did so to make money. So, there was that as a motivation. There were also those who do it, and this is where you get interesting. Military-minded trainers. These are the folks who are among my favorite class of swords masters. These are the ones who teach because they want you to survive your engagement. You guys are always content. You guys are wonderful and help make. I couldn't do. I mean, this show is so different when I'm by myself and just prattling. But these guys, the military sword masters, these are modern drill sergeants. And why are they so hard on me? And the real tragedy that few can discuss is they're hard on you because the more you sweat in training, the less you bleed on the battlefield. Now, I've heard that attributed to Sun Tzu. I've heard that attributed to a lot of people in a lot of versions. But that is And that is important, and it's heavy. Because when I talk training, especially when I'm working with women who, I mean, usually it's women, I've worked with men, but usually it's women who've come out of an abusive relationship or they're picking up martial arts as a way of building confidence. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say, this will turn you into Black Widow and you'll never have to fear somebody again. And that just isn't true. It's a matter of you have to understand the physics. And that's why while I teach a style, if you look at my book, a huge chunk of it is assessing your opponent. While I don't get into it much in the book, when you start assessing and you pay attention, humility does happen. There are people you will realize it is not safe to engage. And knowing when to step back and not engage is as important as any of the steps of what happens after an engagement begins. I prefer conflict resolution of applied cowardice. And I talk that way so that no one feels bad going, yeah, it was bad, so I just left. Now, we got some great comments, so I'm going to take a second. Yeah, sweat more, bleed less. Sweat more now, bleed less later. My favorite memories were from a class when we were doing a 4-point block. It's part of Wing Chun. I think I've heard of it. Sounds familiar. And I was stuck with him. Sifu was showing the block, and he said, "What if I do this instead?" and tried to do something harder and more forceful. Sifu looked at him and back at me, and he said, "You could try." And that's the, oh God, old age and treachery is something that must always be respected. People who do something that is dangerous for long periods of time are either ungodly lucky, which is a tangible force, or have learned something. And it's vital that you realize that, because understanding there's a trade-off. It's a cruel trade-off, but it's an elegant trade-off. I shared a while ago a video of a 10th Dan kendo instructor. I'm sure it didn't end well in the video, in what you're talking about. And basically, he said at the progress of as you age, your body is weaker, but you know what to do more. So your movement becomes much more refined, and that's so important. Sorry, guys, we've got storm running through my sinuses. Are not happy with me. That we acknowledge. Pay attention when you're young and you can do it, so that when you're old, you don't have to. I'm going to tell you guys a story that is not mine. And the irony is this story has been told almost verbatim to me by Steve Clausen and John Miner. And they both involve a teenage punk of more than normal size and equally more than normal arrogance encountering a older military trained Korean martial artist. And the story always ends with them on their back and the small old man looking down at them, possibly while still standing on them, saying, "Ah, now you are ready to learn." Do more with. Oh, okay, guys. You, I need to shout out to somebody. For those of you who know, Luke Stone is my partner. He's a comic book creator. He's made hybrids. I've done the RPG. Now, his wife, I believe it's his wife, Beth Stone, is proofreading and having to put up with my dyslexia and my nyxlexia, where I write it and I swear I wrote the middle of that sentence, but I got interrupted. So I cannot, in justice or fairness, ever hold anybody's literary faux pas against them as any major sin, let alone a flaw. You know, these things happen. Don't feel bad about it, but do train and practice. And you can do that with everything. You write more, you study more. I'm sorry, I have this thing and I just want to play with it. And I know I have to be good because I don't want to have to fight Shoggoths, and I don't want to take my ceiling fan out again or any of that fun stuff. But I got this put together just like an hour before the live stream, so that's why there isn't a video of me playing with this yet. And to answer the other question that was sent to me, yes, it does look like a lightsaber hilt. No, I have not really played with sparring sabers. Yes, I would play with sparring sabers, but you guys can make this, and you could just use a half-inch wooden dowel, shove it in there, and at least have a training uh, cane, or just for training from the draw. Now, I have something else rather special in mind that I intend to make, but that's a little more bladed and a little more silly, and we'll see how it goes. Good. Don't feel bad about it. If it's something that's just part of you, no worries, guys. That would be a good trainer for me to start using. Oh, which one? This one? You like the cane sword? The sword cane? Captain Dyslexia strikes again. Joe, and it's great to hear from Joe Bachman, Guildie extraordinaire, and just a wonderful guy. He's a much better swordsman than he'll ever admit, but he doesn't talk about it because he's far too humble. But yeah, this is just a basic trainer I put together, and I'll be happy to send you the plans, if you want to call it. It's super simple. Oh, comment. This is a 1-inch cane foot because part of the requirements of this trainer was I had to actually be able to cane with it because I want to see if I can use this part as a cane while fighting and just get my thing on. Well, Joe, we don't live that much farther apart than we used to. So when this is all over, you guys are of course welcome. And if you can't make, we're going to move practices around anyway. So let me know, Joe, because I miss you and Trelena fiercely, and I would love to get out and play with you guys. Arrangements can also be made, folks. When I get the design perfected, I might just sell these passively to a few people, or possibly just for the parts and any postage if necessary. Let me know if you guys are interested, because you can make it yourselves, and I will certainly tell you how. But yes, this is just, and I obviously, I joke sometimes about fit and finish. We got our second shot at the end of the month. Probably won't be around till the end of construction season. Just found out the contractor is going 6 days a week on my. I am so sorry about that, Joe. And we don't get our first shots for a couple weeks, assuming that my wallet losing debacle doesn't delay that further. And I'm hoping my wallet turns up. Yes, it poofed. I don't get out much. This has been problematic. But once we are inoculated and it's had a couple weeks to kick into effect, I'll open up the doors. And yeah, if it's not till fall, I understand that with you guys. A lot of people aren't going to be comfortable doing a lot of things anyway for a while. We need time, and I have a lot to catch up before my home is sociable ability. So we'll talk. But I do want to have practices, and I do want to have at least one big weekend send off near the end of August for surprisingly obvious reasons. But I'm also, like I said, I'm rather. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you got something. I hope it works out for you. I'm worried about my people. That's who I am, and I care too much. That's It's why the doctor makes sense to me for many reasons. But anyone who came in late, you probably should see our latest house pet, because the Shoggoth that came in deserves being seen. Oh, geez, Joe. They don't pay you enough. Now, why is my phone buzzing? Everybody knows I'm online. Interrupting my live stream is punishable by tomahawk. Hi, Joe. One of my favorite young authors is a woman by the name of Lacey Lemke, and she messaged me. I'll let that one go because I'm nice. But yeah, guys, we're about at the first hour. A little earlier, but I have a chance. Oh, cool. I want to shout out my patrons. You guys are what lets me keep going. Right now, because of the situation in the library, I can't library. It was negatively impacting my life. And some family things I don't necessarily talk about here. It's needed. So my goal is to build between my Patreon and my my book sales to make at least as much as I was making at the library. So that's my current kind of financial goal and everything I'm doing. I'm going to be putting out a lot more writing, a lot more publications. I'm going to do what I can. I'm sure you guys heard the bit of nervousness crank into my voice because tomorrow's my last day and it's kind of edgy, but we'll see how that all goes. Let's take a minute to check the comments, and then I'll go back to plugging things. Let's see, it will be 6 days starting in June, going through October, and I'm the only one on the project. I would look. There's a theme parks could be cool. With the promotion to supervisor, yeah, they pay me enough now. LOL. Just trying to figure out how I can use a sword against the IRS to keep the taxes from going through the roof. LOL. Interesting you say that, Joe. Because I am a YouTuber and author, and I teach Western martial arts, that has become a bit of a business expense for me. So it might not be a bad time to lightly put together some kind of business. I mean, obviously you won't be able to push hard into it, but things can happen. Let's see. Another wonderful memory in the same class, same thing. Jerk, you're supposed to be doing 4 point. He started doing full speed and full strength. Guys, there will always be some individual. I try to keep my swearing down, but these people really get to me. Who will take their training and try to use that as an excuse to be excessive and get all puffed up. And gooberhead's a great word. and they'll take it too far, especially towards women. And these guys are just sad sacks of donkey feces. Okay, I don't know what's wrong with them, other than they have psychological damage and they need to be examined. I hope they can get help to overcome their narcissism and idiocy, but they have no business doing that to anybody I consider a friend, and I will tell them in much, much, much more colorful terms. When I'm not broadcasting something, I try to keep as PG as possible. Thank you, Cindy. Like I said, I am an anxious person. It is one of my flaws. I shouldn't be, but I am, and I'm going to be kind of funny for a little while about this decision. It's the right decision. It's the necessary decision, but it's not an easy one. Leaving a job you hate is easy. Leaving a job you love because the situation isn't right or aspects are just not right, that's much harder. And that's what I'm dealing with right now. So, yes. And I am so sorry you had to endure that. That is exactly the kind of person I try not to work with. I can work with anybody with an issue or liability, but you have to understand that being a jerk is an issue, and I don't usually like that. Except, that's a little brutal, but not necessarily wrong. No, okay. To the person who asked about the singing, YouTube is really, really funny about copyright, and while I would not want to risk that. My voice has no place doing that. But someday, who knows? I might even cosplay it if my situation allows. We'll see. But I think that's bam. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Felix Silla passed. I hope I'm saying his name right. He was the actor who played Cousin It and one of the actors who played Tweaky. Now, I don't believe he voiced Tweaky. I believe he just did the physical for him. But yes, so that was a loss today, and that's floating around. So I just want to get that out there. Mostly they don't bother me. I don't fight fair. Yeah, okay. I was reading, I think, an old James Bond of all things. And if you read James Bond novels, you find out our boy James in the novels was a dick. But he's like, never fight a short man. They'll just kill you because smaller people don't have the hit damage. In D&D terms, we don't have as many hit points, so we can't goof around. So there's very little impetus to fight fair in any time something is serious. Because Sifu trusted me to be able to take him, none of the other. And yeah, you know what? I've been that guy too. I've been that guy who, actually, as a trainer, there are some people who, at points in the guild, I have not allowed to fight with anyone else because their calibration wasn't safe, and they needed to work on it, and they need to fix their calibration. But I couldn't risk them hurting someone other than me. And that's why my elbow was broken. That's in part why my ribs were broken. I have sustained damage through what was supposed to be adequate armor several times. And it's partially why I'm so passionate that SCA light armor, as I know it, unless there's been a major change, is not adequate for heavy rapier in the Middle Kingdom. And I try to stay out of the SCA stuff as much as possible for my own reasons. But yeah, the armor that will stop a broken blade, it's great against puncture resistance, but the impact is insufficient for some people's calibrations. And there needs to be more proactive action made by marshals against people who hit too hard, regardless of their their level of title or nobility or whatever, their rank. I was co-instructor student at the time and didn't want to see. Yeah, see, that's the thing. Jerks like that hurt people. They're also why, okay, you want to hit too hard, go slap the bowl of water for a while. The heavy bag's right there. You can go hit that as hard as you want. You want to be able to spar with people, you need to control your dragons, man. Oh, absolutely. Fighting dirty is now see, this is where we have to draw a line before I go further. Fighting dirty has very little place when you're sparring Western martial arts or Eastern for that matter. Because of the purpose of it. Now, for once you get into the realm of self-defense, fighting dirty with what I call legal limitation, okay, is necessary, and it's good to be trained in that, but everybody needs to know what's going on during that kind of training session, because the gloves are kind of off a bit there. And they have, everybody has to be aware and be comfortable. It's and it's good because it's also good to teach yourself when to stop. SCA light armor, that's what it was. Yep, four layers of trigger. Schlager added the gorget. That's pretty much what I used to fight. They allowed ballistic nylon, which could be one layer because it would stop a blade, but none of that provided impact resistance. And I am a huge champion that everyone who fences should wear a plastron. Now, I was looking through Purple Heart Armory's gear because I need to upgrade my gear before I start practicing. I need to rebuild my gear for my much larger frame. It has to be adaptable for the changes that frame is going through. And I'm looking into things. So I can share the links directly to the parts I'm looking to. There's basically an upgraded plastron device that gives neck protection partially. It's not quite what I would consider gorget, but a model that's a bit bigger than what I used to wear and a better forearm grip. So I'm just gonna have to upgrade my gear, and we'll see if it's financially how much of it is purchased and how much of it is homebrew. And being me, I'd prefer to do homebrew because that's what I do. But if you're looking for recommendations from PHA, let me know, and I will make some recommendations. But let's see. Best part is I use Tai Chi to redirect attack. He complained about Mantis not being applicable, and I can't imagine what he would think of Tai Chi, but I beat him with it. So I'm going to answer that before I go into Foxy's comment. Guys, when you meet a yang guy, yang, bam, hard strikers, hard in, aggressive, you don't match force with force. Matching force with force is for when I was a kid, there was a show called Marty Stauffer's Wild America. Had these big horned sheep. And at the beginning, they'd always show these big horned sheep, and they'd play the music, da da da, and it'd go pop, 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 bam, and you'd hear them crack. I've seen big horned sheep in real life, seen them do that. It's something to hear. Sounds like a gunshot. Bam. It's force meeting force. I am far more, because I'm defensive minded, and I am a very yin guy. That shouldn't surprise anybody watching this. Being able to say, no, please put that over there. Just bring that over there. Bring that over there. I don't want to oppose it because why should I? It's much more efficient. And Tai Chi is one of those 95% of Tai Chi and its practitioners are using it therapeutically. It is a way of stretching. It is elegant. It has certain spiritual, in some cases religious, but I don't want to get too far into that line of thought because one, the biomechanical effects of Tai Chi are very well researched and known, and the mysticism can run people off that it could help. But it's very smooth, it's elegant, and it helps build grace and stability. I like some forms of Tai Chi. I have to do a lot of adapting for the way my different joints work, the way my body moves. But I've also seen that 5% of Tai Chi where people are bad mofos. And the thing about Tai Chi is like a noodle. Oh, I love this. Tai Chi is like a noodle, okay? It is like a long, gluten-y, flowy noodle. And that noodle can carry things. So it can carry other and integrate with very smooth styles. So Tai Chi and Bagua, you can seamlessly. I'm gonna drop that now, okay. And you can stretch into things, pull out. Or Tai Chi can carry spicier styles, like more aggressive Wing Chun can flow from and back if you integrate it. And that's how I look at Western martial arts. That's how I look at Eastern martial arts. And if you look at MMA, mixed martial arts, are usually three basic styles that you're going to find. You're going to find boxing, you're going to find Muay Thai, and then you're going to find either classical wrestling or BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. These three sub-styles each cover striking, arm striking and small movements, leg and elbows, and then your groundwork. What I found, and that's kind of how I got to the simple sword, looking at the sword styles. Fiore has some really neat semi-aggressive smooth counters. It's almost crystalline in the rigidity of my man Gigante. His defense is it's simple, it makes sense. Silver's parry dagger for days. And I'm not throwing gang signs, so my hand is spazzing, so it's not holding the shape I want it to. Don't be silly, guys. But so when I take my style, I pick and pull. And yes, City Cat, she's referencing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the gentle art of folding clothes with the people still in them. I absolutely love that. Let's use Tai Chi for, let's see. On my own. She is like, don't be there to be hit. I'm probably one of the few people that I know who can see a form and be able to tell you what you're doing wrong. Yes, that's pattern. It's pattern. Oh, City Cap. It's pattern recognition. We are on a parallel. Yes, absolutely. Tai Chi, when developed right, and if you look at a lot of the way I fight, is around the concept of nope. Nope is a verb. It is one of my favorite verbs. I noped right out of there. I'd rather void and not be hit. Now, let's talk about voiding versus parrying. There is a big certain masters will tell you either void or parry. Don't waste your time in between. And I get that. And the percentage of void versus parry does shift, because if I know I'm fighting a stronger opponent, I'm barely even going to try to mess with stopping their sword, because that's putting force against force. It's much better for me to redirect if I have to and let their force go somewhere else, or simply not be there when it gets there. Now, I will say, be careful. And see, now John says no Hapkido, keep the light counters, not the pound till they are mush type. Yeah. See, I got a lot of stuff from watching John and others. If I am defending right, there's a void in it. So when I throw a parry, I partially void at least. This gives me a second chance in case I'm not strong enough to stop the shot. But I'm not just voiding. That's the trick. Everything you do should either give you an advantage or take away a disadvantage. Zach Knifeen, Do Erden, back in the day. So when I'm voiding, I'm not passively voiding. I want you to think about that. I am not merely moving to not get hit. There's a whole circle of directions I could go to not be hit. I'm moving to be in a more advantageous position when I'm not hit. This is where you get into Spanish, where Destreza just rises to the surface, because it is largely the study of how not to be hit. Now, where does that come in? Especially look at Spanish. If you look at the line of attack, okay, so I take a stance, ha-ha! You take a stance, ha-ha! We both have weapons. They're pointed at each other, ha! There's a line that runs from our lead toe, which should be pointed at the bad guy, to their lead toe. That is the line of attack. Strip fencers control the line of attack. You're either blocking their shot and attacking, or you're attacking. So it's either thrust, parry, riposte. That's it. It gets more complicated, but that's it. Control the line of attack. You don't want to attack at the same time because then you both die and no one wins. Bam, bam, bam. Now you look at the Spanish, because this is what the French did, the Italians, the Germans. George Silver. The Spanish looked down. And and they looked and they turned that into diameter. They made that a circle. The line of attack between two opponents is a circle. And whatever you want to do, you want to make sure when you're attacking, you're not on that line of attack. So to counter the lunge, the fundamental ranged-ish attack of a classical fencer, that varying depth hit. Oh, look, part the wild horse's mane. No, these moves don't cross over. Anyhow, lunge. That is a linear attack. So you counter a lunge by fighting from a tangential, because it's shorter. So blade is outstretched straight, arm is locked. I step. I've now voided. Probably, as I'm attacking, there's a voiding grade. Parry the blade off. Let me get a sword, because I need a sword. But I need a short enough sword to apply for this visual. Haha! The irony of sword and dagger here is not lost on me. That's fine. Shot comes in. It is one of the happy, lungy boys. Well, I'm doing this in a rolly chair. I love it. But shot comes in over my head. Oh, can I arm you guys? Actually, yes, I can. Actually, we'll do it like this. This is the path of travel, basically, of the shot that's coming in. You guys are stabbing at me. You would be stabbing here, but it's okay. We can do that too. Get up under. Well, you dropped your sword. Really, you should work on your grip. Parry. Boink. Now, this is straight. My arm hasn't moved. I just dropped stuff. For me, this is sword and sword, but this is a parry dagger, and it works really well. Bop. Boop. Bop. I voided. If the shot goes through and I don't have enough force, I can slide up all day. The void has moved me forward, giving me extra reach without adjusting my arm, so I'm just there stabbing them in the side of the neck. Wonder what fell. I hope it wasn't brittle. Oh well, nothing's hissing. Yes, as part of my, when I'm no longer a librarian, redoing my study properly is definitely going to be underway. But, and that does work for sword. I love paired short sword. You give me 2 daggers, I might get, I am torn. I want to get a second of either one of these or my cutlass. I might go for the cutlass just because I'm an old Drisdordan fanboy, but I do love this. To parry, it opens, and you see I'm moving, so the parry is shot. This is all a natural attack motion, okay? Watch my shoulder, watch here. No, the hissing noise is Lydia tending to the Shoggoth you may have missed earlier, John. Yeah. Anyway, parry, and I come in. But if I keep my arm straight, so I'm keeping my arm straight, all the motion is going to be in my waist and in my leg. You realize how much I've gained without moving? Oh, I have. There was incidents. Shelving is going to happen. This is all changing, but so what I've done, I've taken a classical defense and I've added Italian defense, bam, bam, or even English windshield wiper parry because I like the way he explains it better. Get the sword out, but the Spanish counter, the side effect is my calibration can be stiffer if I'm not careful. Oh no! So I have to make sure my calibration is really good. That means more practice. But that's integrated with taking pieces of a style. My footwork, guys, I'm not going to apologize for it. Interesting. Now, Musashi is one of those people, another wonderful source, where even if you don't embrace his style, should I tell a bad story? I'll tell a bad story after this. About why I like sheaths. But even if you don't embrace his style, which is rather rigid, he has good ideas. Everyone should read Musashi's Book of the Five Rings. You just, at some point, read a translation of it. It's like Sun Tzu's Art of War. Read it. Not everything will apply, but there'll be enough gems of really useful stuff that you'll find. I fight, guys. I fight like I'm having fun. It means I get beat more when I'm sparring, but that's okay because I'm having fun. There was one time, however, I was dealing with a young individual, much like oh, excellent. If you can find the link to the comic book version, he's close. Funny, John. Anyway, and he did something. He did something, and I was fighting sword and sheath, and I, fell into form. Sword came out. He parried the sword, backlocked with the sheath, popped the sheath up to his mask, fall through, stabbed him in the throat. Walked away. My good friend Trey saw it. Or at least close enough to the story to not name names. But, and she looked at me, she goes, Batu-sai? Because I was angry. And yes, I slipped into the Batu techniques of using your sheath as a parry device, which incidentally fits somebody who's rather fixated on cane swords very well. When I have the right sword cane to drill with, and it has to be such that I can fight with it, I can drill with it, use all components, and still cane with it. Yeah, rigid parry. Well, this was a little more spirited than my usual use of rigid parry, John, because it was done properly. We'll put it that way. It was not an SCA event. It was a rigid parry, but it was not. It was what I don't do because I can. But years ago, and I'm not proud of it because it bordered on a loss of control, and it wasn't a true loss of control. It was as aggressive as I would allow myself to be at the time because it was necessary. Oh yes, sword cane rigid parry, but they, you know what, there was, I had marshals yell at me about that idea because they didn't want, they were worried that I could catch the other opponent's blade in my sheath and risk tangling and breaking it. Was what they were telling me why I couldn't use a sword cane as a trainer at that time. You know how it was back then, John. But I may do an article or a book on my approach to sword cane, but or sword stick, cane, because I still would prefer to strike somebody with the stick side than I would the sword side. Because if I use a sword to defend myself, and we're getting into the real practicals of the world where I don't normally go, but if I use the sword to defend myself, really, it's not going to be not fatal. I have too many years of going for kill shots trained into me. There'd be death, and I don't like death. I don't like the idea of hurting anyone or taking somebody from their loved ones if I don't have to. With a stick, I have a lot more options to not kill somebody. I still can, and I still might, but it's a mitigated response, and that's why I'm torn on this subject. It's very complex. Wow! You used a live steel sword cane with the sword duct tape so it could not come out? I am amazed they let that fly, John. I'm going to tell you, if I was marshaling that bout, there's no way in hell I'd let any form of edged weapon on that field. That is staggering. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not saying you didn't have fun with it. I am just genuinely awestruck at the horror of that statement because I had to refuse to a weapon because the wielder was using El Cid an El Cid style rigging where the tip, the inward gnarled tip, was still conically sharp, and they were going to let that go on the field. So I don't know. Wow. See, stuff like that is why I'm physically sickened by that, John. I love sword canes and I love parries and such. But the idea of allowing a live steel sword cane that's been essentially duct tape piece tied as a rigid parry, that physically hurts. That is terrifying because I know, well, we both know individuals whose temper, and while you are the exception, rules usually aren't made for us exceptional types. Wow. That actually gave me a headache. I'm not even going to lie, John. The thought of somebody going on with a live steel. Wow. It's impressive. Sorry, death is good to avoid. I prefer it. I plan to make it the last thing I do in my life. Yep. Death is going to be the last grand adventure. I want to put it off as long as I can. But I hope that when the time comes, assuming I get a pickup, I can greet whoever's picking me up like an old friend. I hope I can die well. But John says, nope, can allow it. That's just problematic. Would I trust my temper with something? Could I trust my... Yes, because I carry a knife every day, and I've been in many situations where I've never had to use my knife. Well, okay, I've had to use my knife in self-defense once, and that was against a man with a gun, and I managed to do so without hurting myself or him. No one died. But I understand I'm not the norm, and I sure as hell ask anybody. I take my neck knife off every practice. I walk up to my wife and I hand her my neck knife because I will not risk an incident. Now, I do intend, one of my next projects is to make a neck knife trainer, because the good folks at CRKT say they might think about it in a couple of years. No one else I've talked to even bothered to respond on the subject. And I've recently learned of new ways to make inexpensively this style of sheath. So I will definitely be looking into trying to make a neck knife trainer that I deem safe enough to use. If I can do that, it will be like bright orange or an obvious color so that everyone involved knows that it's not, and then I will practice with its use. But that's neither here nor there. Live steel should never be allowed on the field. Hard stop. And the fact that the people who could allow that and then have the audacity to accuse me of not being a real marshal in training, that's sick. Wow. And again, John, I'm not beefing with you. I got no beef with you, John. None whatsoever. That's a little too tight. But I'm going to tell you, folks, there are some rules I deem universal across the training arc. You know, if you're doing Western martial arts, Eastern martial arts, if you are training with knives, unless you are in an actual military setting, yeah. Yeah, never, ever, 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 hard stop. Why do I devote myself to trying to find adequate trainers this hard? Because you don't take live steel. You don't train. I know of people who died because they were doing live steel drills. I know people who've lost shoes. I know people who've lost body parts because they were doing steel blunted stuff. Never, just, guys, that's one of those, if you take anything from me, never, ever, ever spar with live steel on you. That's like going to a Nerf war with a real gun in your holster. Oh, I won't. I'll tell the difference. We just had somebody die from that kind of thing. Whatever you want to say about it, and I'm not going to get into politics, despite my very strong opinion. But I will say, you don't do that. If you're not going out to kill somebody, don't carry the tools to kill somebody. Yeah. Now, Foxy says, my dad used to, always told me that I had a long German fuse, but once I go off, it's a Celtic temper. I'll say we are of similar backgrounds, Foxy. And I do, John, I hope I didn't offend you by my reaction. That was just a very visceral, honest, just abject horror, literal abject horror. And I understand your background and your capabilities and your control. I can't fathom that situation because it's one of those rules that has to apply to everybody. I am super lawful, guys. I will admit it. Now, my laws are a little different than other people's laws, but that just, wow. And that's why we're making things like this, guys, so you can go out with a sword trainer and train something similar that, wow, that won't, won't hurt you and will let you keep things in practice. I also want to try different versions because I was looking for one and I saw it and I had the parts in my hand, but it kept binding a screw together adapter because so many sword canes you have to unscrew to deploy, and that is a very different motion and it takes time. And I want people to think about that when they're choosing a sword cane. You know, weapon retention, deployment. These are interesting things. Now, so this is why this is the mark, almost mark 0.5 because I'm not sure. I haven't even. I'm gonna have to videotape how this blade moves because that's a lot more flex than what I'm used to, and we'll just see. And please, John, let me know if I've offended you because I really did not mean to offend you. I couldn't imagine doing that. But like I said, the rules were so. For some people, they were one set of rules. For others, they were another set of rules. And yeah, that just. And that probably was a long time ago, too. So who knows? But let's see. What else do we have coming up? I'm going to be doing new armoring projects. Obviously, I have to adapt. I have to find out if my existing gloves will work around these braces. If not, I have to build new gloves. I'm actively looking for video requests. If you want to talk about the right sword, wrong sword, that's one we were going to talk about, and I got distracted. I misplaced the pommel that I made to fix that, so bear with me. But what you were talking about was using a djinn as a rapier. And that's fascinating because a lot of people make that assumption, but a lot of people actually treat the djinn mentally like it's a small sword. And many modern production djinn are. Djinn, I'm not sure about the plural. But like the Hanweis that I used to borrow from Sword's Age. Very light, very much like a small sword. One more practical fighting djinn do handle more like a rapier or an arming sword. There is presence to the weapon. What I tell you is there are styles built around a given weapon, and that's well and good. But if you understand the basics of any weapon, you can make something go. For example, and a wonderful variant we just had. Where did that go? Oh, well, that's that. That's that. Where did that go? Oh, there it is. Yes, I will take, yes, a sword tree. Yes, a sword rack or shelves. Get organized, Nikolai. It is in the works. So shall it be written, so shall it be done. These two guys are not that different in blade length. I mean, they're about 4 inches, but for our purposes, they are one-handed, guarded weapons. I I can make this go as a parry dagger. I can make this go. If I know how to use a parry dagger, which I do, this guy's great for learning it, I can use this in the same fashion. But as soon as I swing it, my body's going to start telling me things. Some of them are. Yes, the Scarlet Sunrise. I actually saw that video. But as soon as you move it, once you've trained in a style, you'll feel what the sword wants to do. What do I mean by that? Is it a light sword? Is it a heavier sword? Where is the balance? And like this, of course, because it's plastic and such, the balance is right about here. Hold on. Not bad on a grab, guys. What does that tell you? This is a very, very balanced weapon. That means it's going to be nimble, it's going to be agile. And what you're seeing, as best as I could do, understand that the guards get in the way, is the motion of a very traditional Jian parry. Jian parries, the pivot point often is near the middle or at the foible mesoforte line, third, is where the balance of the weapon is. I'm using this because it fits. Yeah, and you're going to find that. As soon as you pick it up, you're like, I don't know what this was, but why is that? I'm going to shock. This could be a clickbait. The secret between Eastern and Western martial arts. We're all bloody human. We are all bloody human. We may be tall humans, we may be short humans. We all operate within, for the majority of us, a set. My arm can only bend this far back. It can only go this straight. My wrist will only go roughly 180s in supercation. Okay. I can angle cut all the way around that, but the angles in the middle are much more comfortable and usually more powerful. If I combine my hands, I get both hands. Okay, my shoulders, my elbows will dig in at certain points. My shoulders will tighten and bind. This weapon is going to move a certain way. And just like the simple sword is a intersection between a lot of Italian masters, I'm going to tell you, if you look at it, there's a lot of intersection between what you find in Eastern styles versus Western styles. The trick is the weapon. Yeah, okay, with the quillions, you can do fancy binds, but it's still, if I grab right here and I go here, does this become a functioning arming sword? Absolutely. If I have enough grip to get out and extend a little bit, can this be essentially a longsword? Certainly. And yeah, you work with the weapon. And once you have studied martial arts, just like earlier you were talking about, you can look at it, they're doing something wrong. We've discussed it in the past, and I might do video streaming. I will let you guys know if Sword Sage ever wants to do a online discussion, guys. I would love to. I miss him dearly. He was a dear friend, and he's too far away on the other side of the world. It kind of stings that he gets to be in where he is on the other side of the country from me. And I don't. Sometimes stings a bit because I'm from closer to there than I'm to here originally, and I miss certain aspects of it. But I miss the certain aspects of it of about 30 years ago, 40 years ago now. Oh God, I'm so old. But so let's talk. We said We just talked east-west. This minimal guard. Because as a minimal guard, you can't block with the guard. You need to block with the forte. That's going to give you guys a wonderful parry surface. Oh, off in the woods. Hi. There's a brief there was a brief period where Germans at least used a weapon that was essentially a complex hilted hand and a half so that they could use it from horseback as a long. Yes, they're wonderful weapons. I love hybrid weapons like that. And it's great. I'm glad to see you in. I'm glad you're popping in. Okay, going back to. I hope you. I'm sorry you have to go back, John. It was great seeing you. Unexpected. A little warning would have been nice, but I understand. The video you're talking about will probably be edited this weekend. I've had to fight the Microsoft 2021 cumulative update and adjustment program, or whatever that monster was. But watching him do videos with Skullgrim about yes, they're very knowledgeable. They're very interesting in their fields. I enjoy it because when I'm talking to them, I often feel like the pauper among princes financially. I mean, what Skull's willing to put into a sword just to review is staggering. And what they talk about. Ditto with Sword Sage. Wonderful people. Both of them are great guys. But even when I disagree with them, and I give Shad a lot of flack because I disagree with Shad, but he's still a decent guy. He's done so much for the HEMA community. I do respect him. But gotcha. So it's interesting. I also, if I got vast sum of money, guys. If I was incredibly wealthy, I would probably upgrade my personal gear a bit, but I would still review the poly trainers. I'd still review things like this because this is what people can afford. I'd still recommend if you're throwing money at something, throw it at a guy like the Purple Heart Armory, where it's a real company, it's a real American person trying to make his way doing what he loves for the community. You know, because that's the difference. And I run into it a lot. John in the SCA, a lot of people chase rank and privilege. They want the high end. They want to improve the art by being the best they can be at the top of their field, just chasing the gold. And I want to build the base up. Now you say I've got sword wish list a mile long. Trust me, I get it. Believe it or not, after years of doing this, one, I found out I collect trainers far more than I collect live steel because I can use a trainer. I can do something other than, oh, this is beautiful. It's elegant. I love live steel, yes, but I've gotten a very strange form of I know what I want. And it's not about price or appearance to anyone else. It's how it sits in the hand, how it feels, how it moves. So instead of chasing them all like a lot of, I'm kind of quietly on a quest for very few types of weapon. So when I find the right Bilbo-ish sword, much like the one John gave me, as a live steel, I will get it. When I look for trainers for me, I'm incredibly particular because I know what I'm looking for. I know the length, I know the reach, I know kind of what I want. Just like I'm the Ollivanders of swords for other people, I am still to myself. What's Cindy? Oh, I'm back. I found out I don't. Hey, congratulations that you don't have to drive 5 hours. That's awesome. I need to reorganize and get my swords up, and the ones that are lifesteal wall hangers, wall hanging. But I'm just a couple of years behind. I still haven't undone the boxes from when we moved. Because of illness and some things. So it's happening, but it is happening, and that's what's cool. It's good things are happening. But like a lot of the shopping I do isn't necessarily for me. Now I will tell you this: I did actually lust after this guy. I lusted after this guy in part because the tongue in cheek of Sting is, very, very appropriate for me. And secondly, this is actually a weapon I'm comfortable with. It feels very, it's machete balance. It flows. It draws nice. I could use it in close quarters. This, make all the Hobbit jokes you want, and John has. This fits me, and it fits my fighting style remarkably well. This is a design originally from the pre-armor age. This is a Bronze Age blade, Celtic leaf blade, essentially, which was wonderfully effective for unarmored opponents and limited in length by the amount of by what bronze could effectively be. So it fits me remarkably well. Something just tapped my outside window. Hold on. Okay. That fell. Nothing too serious, but I actually enjoyed it. There are a couple here that came from my wish list that I wanted to review or that I need. And then there's some that I have just because they're bloody cool. And, making it is where I start having to tailor my weapons. And that's what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to get where it's not just lusting. Oh, good food, good music, good company. That's what I value. Now, I have some dwarven craftiness when I am physically able. I love to get out in the garage, bang some steel, get a little fortune. Craftsmanship is a beautiful thing. But most of the day, a nice shallow pond, good grilled meal, good company, some caffeinated beverages because I don't drink. It doesn't get much better than that. Sit and play my tin whistle. Maybe wander the woods. That's when my horns start showing, though. But that's okay. And I think, really, if more people valued that, and that was part of Tolkien's point, if more people valued good times, good meals, and good company, and realized how important that was, instead of chasing gold and power and all that grumpiness, the world would be a better place. And I can almost get to the point where I could say, with a straight face, if the world were more like the Shire, it would be better. But I can't because I had an SCA Shire, and that doesn't quite work with me. I'm almost there, though. I'm almost to where that's behind me enough that I can not think in those terms. So, yeah. Oh, I make jewelry. I am a consummate builder of things. And as I get to be me again from recovering from my illness, I find that coming back. I write stories, I draw, I make jewelry, I do perler beads, I do wood carving, I do forging, all sorts of things. But to get there, first I have to get healthy enough to be happy. And that's what I've had to work. Because there's a measure of where you just have to be sick or you have to be weak. And that's what you have to do. And you tend to that. But as I get me back, I can do more. And the me that's coming back isn't the same me as I had before I went down. And I'm accepting that too. Today would be a horrible example because I overdid it yesterday. Oh, I got messages from John at some point. Yeah, I have one just like that, John. Somewhere I have that exact model of sword cane. So I can see where, of course, mine was spring loaded and rather dodgy. I can see where yeah, I still, because like I said, I own that exact model. And that dagger actually had a tendency to pop out on its own, unbidden. Vibration would make it wiggle to the turn release, and the internal dagger would pop straight out. It actually blew out the bottom on mine because the spring they put into it was too powerful. But yeah, absolutely. Okay, tell you what, if you don't want to sell it or whatever, set up a DeviantArt account and put up pictures of your jewelry. People will like it and they'll share it, and you'll get positive reaction. And you can do it under a name that's not yours. You know, if you look up www.deviantart, so deviant like a freak show, deviant art like what I do, .com/Nick T. You'll find my old and some neglected but soon to be upgraded gallery of art. And I still tend to that sometimes, and I've been there for 16 years. The community got kind of rough for a while, but it's coming back. And it's a great place to back your stuff up. And if you want to see my artwork, you can. I will be putting some stuff up probably next week as part of my plan because I want to get pieces of me back, and that's part of me. But we are within a few minutes of the end of the program, so I really want to thank everybody who commented. It was great to hear from Ryan Coker out of the blue. Cindy, oh, thank you. Cindy kept says my artwork is cool. I try. Cindy, did I send you? Did you get the little mini comic book I've been working on? I'm going to set up to do that right now. If not, I'm going to send you something, Cindy. If I haven't, well, I'll check. If not, you've got something good. Within the next 5 or 10 minutes, I will send you something silly. You will enjoy it. Not the highest work, but it's good, and it's good practice. But the vast majority of the people who've been talking here are actually my sponsors. They're my Patreon members. And if you go to www.patreon.com/The Historical Fencing Guild, you'll see the same boot like you see in one of these corners. It should come up when I publish. And it would help. $1 a month at this point, because I'm no longer working. All I'm doing that brings in money is selling books and making the YouTube channel. And that money, the money from that goes to buying gear and fixing things, because I have a lot to fix with what's coming. And I think everyone involved is going to appreciate it. So bottom right, thank you. That means it's working. Tech hates me. I'll have to leave a note to that. But you'll see that exact little white boot. That's my old device back from when I was at CA, and it still floats around on things I make. And it's in the books that I do usually, at least the fencing ones. But that would help amazingly. And if you want to learn what I'm doing, go to Amazon.com/authors/Nicholas Tockert and consider buying the Simple Sword and the Fighting Axe. Both of these are kept as low as Amazon will let me keep their prices, because I added that much color in a couple pages. The print cost was substantially higher. That's why the sketches in this, and I went to hand sketches. Oh, look, that axe trainer sure looks familiar, doesn't it? Anyway, if you want to learn my methods, you can buy these. If you have Kindle Direct, it's free. If not, it's inexpensive for the ebooks. And that's what I want. I would rather make less to get it out there for you, because that's what I'm about. More books are coming, and they're going to be coming fast. I have a lot of things that have been simmering at partial levels, so you're going to want to keep an eye on that. There's also, for folks who are interested, there is a very active public Facebook group, the Historical Fencing Guild's public group. And I believe I have the boot logo involved with that. And if it's not, I'll put it back up. But guys, thank you so much for spending your Friday nights with me. I hope we've learned some stuff. We've discussed some stuff. I do take requests. Oh, and I am sorry, it fell. That's what one of those bangs is. A proud member of the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. Take a screenshot of these lovely people who are putting out quality content. Sorry, my high tech here. Yes, there was a message that you guys don't need to see on the back. I was using this as a dry erase board. But other than that, guys, it broke. It actually broke. Dang it. Anyway, yeah, better than going out and watching Hicks get drunk. Yeah, stay sober, stay sword fighting. Keep your guard up. Be kind to each other and yourselves. And guys, there's one thing I want you to stab. There's one thing I want you, when you get a chance, to kill the living out of. And that's the imposter syndrome. The demon in your head that says you can't do it. You can, you will, you'll shock yourself, you'll shock everybody looking, and it's going to be awesome. We are coming out of a dark period in history and in time where a lot of people suffered. There was a lot of anxiety, a lot of pain, a lot of misery. I acknowledge it. I embrace it as the educational thing it was. And I tell you, we are heroes for surviving it. And we're going to make the future better, because that's what I want. That's what you want. And that's what we're going to do. So long, folks. Be good to each other. And as always, support your local sword master.